So we start with Dr. Bob Melamed.
Once we reach adulthood, we stop at the physical growth. So now we're not moving further from equilibrium in the same way. And then the way we've been taught and educated is now the only thing for us to do is to age and die. And I'm suggesting that's all nonsense. We don't have to have our whole perspective of age limit, our whole perspective of health is misguided. So that's what I'm into, trying to create change on a global level through education.
Okay, I hope that almost everybody knows Indra Bayer.
We'll see. Jindřich Bayer, thank you all for showing up. It's great to have you here. I'm a Facebooker and author, let's say, of one of the first protocols for treating cancer with cannabis extracts. So anything you would like to know about the use of cannabis in medicine, yeah, that's the book, you can ask me. And I'm passing the word to Corey Yellen.
I'm Corey Yellen from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I was diagnosed in July 2011 with anal cancer, and I was given 2 to 4 months to live. Many thanks to cannabis oil and ginger. I'm obviously very much alive. I've been confirmed cancer-free for 7 years now, and said all along if it worked, I'd spend the rest of my life telling people about it. That's what I do by a show called Cannabis Health Radio, as well as talking to hundreds of people a week, and I am very honored to say that I've probably helped save 1,500 lives now. So if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janet Sweeney, and I'm just another cannabis activist like all of us. I'm one of the founders of the Phoenix Tears Foundation, and I worked with Ginger Fair for almost a decade now. Yeah, and luckily we've been able to help many, many people and get the word out there that cannabis really can help save you and make your life better, much better.
Hello, my name is Božidar Radišić. I'm coming from Slovenia. I'm also one of the activists. We are helping people, mostly with sharing knowledge. We are organizing conferences. We organized now recently the first education for doctors and nurses in Slovenia, which was recognized by the medical chamber. We spread the word all over the world, and we help people actually from, I don't know, from Zimbabwe to Moscow, whatever.
Okay, so now you can start with questions.
Uděláme extrakci nějakým rozpouštědlem, výtažku, anebo třeba ledováním nebo tím suchým výtřetem zmraženého materiálu.
Look, this is interesting question. Thank you. So, I heard many interesting opinions because sometimes people ask me what is the best solvent to do extract. And I can tell you it depends which patient and which disease, because each solvent extract different compounds. So you have different mixture, and in the fact from the same strain with different solvents you can have different medicine, because it depends what you want. If you want more terpenes, or if you want more cannabinoids, or if you want more other compounds. So there is no answer for your question. Which solvent is the best or which is not so good? It depends on any patient and any disease. So each solvent has a certain advantage, of course, but you cannot prefer just only one. Of course, if we look from the point of view that they sometimes want to check for traces of solvent, so then the best is CO2, because there are no traces. After that can be butane. After that alcohol, because if there are traces of alcohol, so alcohol is edible, so it's no problem if there are traces of alcohol. So, and then all other solvents.
Just for the home use, I wouldn't use anything than alcohol, because if you don't have a proper equipment, you will not be able to evaporate all the solvent out of the extract. So the most safe for the home production, let's say, is edible alcohol.
It's my experience as well, speaking with people, that not all solvents are created equal. So, for example, naphtha here in Czech Republic is not the same as naphtha in the United States.
That's true. The thing is, right now what we knew was how to use a simple guerrilla method for making the oil. That was the so-called RSO method or something. That used light naphtha because ideally ether would be the solvent of choice in a regulated and controlled environment, because working with any solvent is very dangerous. And it can really explode, which reminds me that I would like to dedicate this panel to the memory of Dragan, our great Serbian friend who died making the medicine for patients. Good luck for Dragan.
Just somebody told me that here is also one lady from Israel. Yes, her name is Miss Yahoda. And if somebody has any question, can you get up that they can see you? If anybody has question to her, because she has experience as patient and also that she worked with patients, so she can also give you some information if you have questions to her. So another questions, please.
How long do you think it will be before these politicians and people who've lied about this plant and denied people this plant are held trial for the most heinous crime of cannabis prohibition?
10 to 20 years is my estimate. It's gonna break through, it's all crumbling, more and more states are coming in, more and more medical research will be done, and people just won't let it be. So I think 10 to 20 years from now.
I disagree. It's going to be a lot quicker.
Everybody knows
It's going to happen so quickly now because, again, there's a synergy happening. The thing with flowing energy is that when you reach critical points, you don't keep having this linear incremental change. You have a non-linear change. And from everything I see now, we're seeing a non-linear change happening globally with weather, migrations, death of species. All of these things are critical components of our current flow that are destabilizing the situation. So we're either going to come out of this a lot smarter, whereby we're no longer under the thumb of these backward-looking people that are basically killing us, depriving us of the necessary nutrient for optimizing human health.
Hi, I help a lot of cancer patients, and the main question I get asked is about drug interaction with cannabis and pharmaceutical drugs. Now, I do know it heightens morphine. Are there any other drugs that patients should be wary of when taking cannabis oil? And also, is a 2-hour gap between cannabis oil and pharmaceutical drugs long enough to be processed by the liver? Or should they be leaving a longer gap between taking cannabis oil and pharmaceutical drugs?
Yes, there are several studies about this enzyme, cytochrome P450, which somehow influence the metabolism of other pharmaceutical drugs, let's say. So there are some articles about it, yes.
One of the things that very clearly happens is that when you take sufficient CBD, CBD itself turns off CB1, so it turns off the electron transport system and that whole system. But what it does via a variety of other receptors, but in particular by shifting away from CB1 to CB2 activity, it actually does turn on fat burning. And people who consume anywhere from 50 to 200 milligrams a day will typically lose significant weight from CBD. So, and it also reduces blood pressure. So people who are on diabetic medicine and people who are on high blood pressure medicine, they've got to kind of titrate themselves until they see that one actually works a lot better and is a lot healthier than the other. So That's a transition that needs to be made by the individual.
I would like to answer you. I'm a cancer patient. I'm 35 years using cannabis, and the cannabis never interfered to any other drugs or any other medicines. Actually, by little, I gave up all the pharmaceutical medicine, and I stayed with cannabis only. And cannabis surgery is their life.
That's interesting. You know, I was on a shitload of drugs when I started on oil. 10 to 15 Tylenol 3 a day, Percocet, opium, OxyContin, Tylenol, you name it, I was on it. And within 10 days, I was down to half a Tylenol 3 a day.
So I know Rick Simpson is CBD averse or skeptical, and so I'm curious about the formula that you developed with CBD, what you've seen, because I do run into people who are definitely THC averse, and is there any positive effects from the same formula just using CBD?
No.
Definitely no.
I'm in the high THC club, so ideally I would really be using the so-called jacuzzis, like bathtubs or jacuzzis filled with cannabis oils. Then people would be taking baths in that. Everybody thinks I'm crazy now, but it's gonna take a few years for them to catch up and realize that it's not as crazy. So I generally, especially for the treatment of cancer, I recommend the high THC oils, like something that she tried yesterday. I think he felt nicely after that. And that's the feeling that I want the people to have, the nice feeling. And that's what you get from the best high THC oils. If someone who has the money and access to CBD and takes CBD as a supplement to the high THC protocol, I'm okay with that. There's not enough research really to say that CBD will cut down the effects of THC or something. I think it's going to work in synergy somehow. So in my method, I would recommend high THC extracts. The best one that we've worked with were really in the 90-95% THC region, and that's what I would like to see as the main medicine. But of course there's the so-called bio-individuality, so everybody really has to find the oil that they like best.
I agree completely with respect to cancer, but I have heard from our dearly departed Steve in Romania there that he successfully treated a number of childhood leukemias only with high CBD. So I think CBD can work, but I would certainly never recommend taking CBD. You need that minimum amount of THC, at least a gram a day or more.
Yeah, I think there is no rule actually, because not even two people respond the same way. And I think until we don't know the level of the endocannabinoids in the system and all the stuff, everything is just tapping in the dark. But the experience is that THC is the king, so in most of the cases.